Hello, today is Monday, April 27th, 2020. This is Angela Hooper Menifield with your HR moment from Menifield and Associates. And so I hope you guys had a great weekend. I know in some areas the weather was a little bit more conducive than it has been. I also, it's Monday, so it's a busy week. And for some of us, this is week seven for us in Jersey. So anyway, today I've had a couple of calls, very busy, but what I'm noticing is that people are struggling trying to deal with the expectations that's being set upon them. Now, some of this is self expectations during this time of crisis, and some of it is being inflicted upon them or projected, I should say, upon them by their supervisors. So let's just talk a little bit about expectations. When we talk about expectations, and many of you have heard me say that I think that most of us live up to expectations. And so what I mean when I say stuff like that is the fact that I believe if we know what people expect of us, we try to accommodate or do it. But what also happens is when people have unrealistic expectations, then that's not always good, right? And so, one employee or one person that I was speaking with was just talking about the stress of having all these expectations put upon them, and basically, they're unrealistic, right? Well, then I just got off a phone then with one of, I think you guys have heard me say before, I'm fortunate enough to have a few millennials in my inner circle that we talk with. We serve as thinking partners to one another and things like that. And so this person has actually started a job where now several people have been let go. So as a result of this, what is happening is they have the responsibility of doing the work of other people. And, the expectation is, so, okay, if I do this work and I don't do well, is my job in jeopardy? But in order to do it well, I'm having to work now twice as long, right? So a 8-hour work day, or technically a 7.5 for most people, is starting to feel like 10, 11 hours because I'm doing the work of people who've been furloughed. And so is this a realistic expectation? I would say no, right? I would argue that when, we're in crunch time, and I think we all try to, people with strong work ethics, we try to carry the load and compensate for the pieces that are missing. But that doesn't mean that we should have to work, 10, 12 hours a day and with no additional remuneration either, right? So how do you have that conversation with your supervisor or manager when it's clear that the work that's being put upon you during these times is more than is reasonable for a regular work shift? Well, a couple of suggestions that I'd like to offer is, one, we have the conversation. So what does that mean? Say to the supervisor, this was what was on my plate. And so now that I have this in addition, could you help me prioritize? Like, which of those things are the priority for you, right? And then help them to see, because sometimes as supervisors, and I've been guilty of it, we give people more work, not thinking about the work they already had to do. A couple of things I've always done in the past too, when working with or for someone that may not be clear on what I'm doing, I'll list all the things that I plan to address today or during this week and say, so these are the things, just so we're on the same page, especially now in this remote working situation, right? These are the things I plan to cover this week. And this is the order. Please reprioritize or, confirm that this is acceptable, because those new tasks that have been given to me, I will put at the bottom, right? And so if that's a priority and they say, well, no, put this to the top, then we can have agreement, number one, of which things they want me to address in what order. But then if I don't get to number 4 or 5, because, what you moved from number 6 takes up 30% of my time, we can also have some clarity. At the end of the day, being that I do a lot with performance management, performance elements, giving appraisals and things like that, I just think it's so important that we are clear on what the expectation is and in what time frame we're supposed to do it. The other thing I would say is When you begin to feel stressed, and a couple of people I've talked to recently are starting to have some health concerns. Some of that is lack of sleep, anxiety, depression, even one from working from home and just living by themselves, being in that environment. So that is causing them to be not as productive. EAP services have not gone away during this crisis, right? So if you begin to feel overwhelmed and as if you are having a hard time keeping up with what's happening, or it's just the anxiety of it, reach out, right? So here's a couple of things about EAP. It's private. It's confidential, but it also protects you. So just as much as it's important for me to provide guidance to supervisors, it's important for me to help the rank and file employee too, right? So how do you protect yourself? And I don't mean abuse the EAP. And EAP, again, is Employee Assistance Program. But it's to reach out and say, this is causing some distress on me, or this is creating anxiety. There have been some other people, it's just headaches, migraines, right? Because again, the work keeps coming and it's coming at a faster pace in computer situations where perhaps your computer is not as fast as the one at work. I had one person recently tell me today that the computer the job sent them home with is not working anymore. And so here they are now trying to, I'm trying to wave at people, but here they are now trying to use the computer, their own personal computer, which doesn't have the capacity. They've also had people to step away because they don't have internet speed that's quick enough. So again, are the expectations realistic? As a supervisor, as a manager, are you expecting people to deliver services in a time frame that's unreasonable? I even brought up the distractions of children at home and other people at home. Multiple people sharing the internet service can also slow it down. So again, are our expectations realistic? And if they're not, are we having the conversations with the people we manage? Are we asking them, this is when I'd like it due. Is that reasonable? Just add that little extra thing on it. So will you be able to get it to me by Friday? And if not by Friday, by when, right? And if you really need it by Friday, maybe you say, well, I really need it by Friday. So what do we need to move off your plate in order for me to get this by Friday? But it's not the time to, micromanage people, yell at them, berate them, and treat them as if they don't matter. Everybody matters. And this is a crisis. John Maxwell says that all supervisors and managers have bad days, right? We call it a crisis when we have consecutive bad days, right? And for some of us, we've had about 2 months of that. So this is a crisis, but it's also a crisis for our employees. And we cannot forget that. So, sometimes they're spending time in the daytime doing business hours, making calls to creditors, to mortgage companies, to landlords, to the internet company, to the school. And they can't put all their effort on you, but create a dialogue so that they feel comfortable telling you that. Because if you're like me, sometimes it's hard for me to ask for help, right? And so if I'm working for a person that I don't feel like cares about me, I am less inclined to tell them what's really going on in my life. So if we really want to be good supervisors and managers, what we need to do is build a rapport and talk to people versus micromanage them, set unrealistic expectation, and as we furlough other people, dump work on them that may be unreasonable to expect them to do. So your takeaway for Monday, April 27th, 2020, if you were a supervisor, I'm asking you to reach out to your employees. I'm asking you to ask them if they're okay. I'm also asking you to find out what can you do to help them. Ask them, how has this management style been working for them in this arena of working from home? Ask them, are the expectations realistic? What do they need more of? What do they need less of? And then listen. Don't give feedback. Don't tell them they're right, they're wrong. Just listen to them and then figure out how we can make this work. Because for many of us, we're not coming out of the house anytime soon. It's just not happening. So again, that's my tidbit for today. I guess I feel heavy a little bit today because I just hear so many people are being stressed out. And it's because of supervisors. And some of you don't even realize that you're doing it to people. So listen to me, the unbiased party that's telling you to stop. Stop putting so much on people. Check on them. Ask them if they're okay. And then we move on from there. And again, I'm not giving anybody permission to goof off. But what I'm saying is care about people first, right? People before profit. People first, always. So, again, my name is Angela Hooper Menifield, and this has been your HR Moment for Menifield and Associates. About to jump into my Speakers Club, which starts in about an hour. So if anybody's interested in being a part of a Speakers Club, let me know. It's virtual, so you can do it from anywhere. We meet for an hour every other Monday night at 7 p.m. It's $10 a session. We'd love to have you join us. We got about 7 or 8 right now. And so, like them, I'm trying to continue to grow as a speaker. Take care, and I'll talk to you soon. Bye.